Hello, I'm Matt and I'd like to welcome you to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to put on a backpack that I put 70 pounds of lead in, which you can see in the video linked at the end of this video, and I'm going to go for a 1-mile walk. So to show you that I'm putting a heavy backpack on, I'm going to weigh myself first and then put the backpack on, and then we'll talk further from there. So to do that, I'm going to turn the screen around so you can see the scale. $184.6. Now I'm going to put this backpack on, and I'm not going to turn the camera off so you can see that it hasn't been edited. Oops, excuse the camera angle. Okay, now the backpack is on the back, and I'm going to do this again. $256.6. So now I'm going to turn it back around, and we're going to go for a walk. And on my phone here, let's see if I can get that. You should be able to see that I've zeroed that out, and we're going to go for a 1-mile walk. So here we go. First of all, give you a little idea why I'm doing this. Recently, I lost 70 pounds without working out while still eating foods that I love. And this is kind of my reminder of how much better I feel when I don't have that 70 pounds on. I did a recent walk similar to this that was just a short one, but I thought I'd see what a mile would feel like. But before I get started, I got to give a quick disclaimer. I am not a medical professional, and I give no medical advice. The goal of my videos and my book, Deciding for Life, How I Lost 70 Pounds Without Working Out and While Still Eating Foods That I Love, is to inspire others to feel as awesome as I do. And what I mean by that is, when you've lost a substantial amount of weight, you lose it kind of slowly. But until you sit down and think about it, you really don't know. You really don't realize how much of a difference that it makes. So, I've lost 80 pounds once and 70 pounds this time. So, I really know how it feels, and it took retiring to really see how it feels, to really be able to appreciate it, and to know that it's something I really want to tell other people about, because I'd like them to feel just as awesome as I do. So if you see anything in any of my videos, or read anything in my book that you want to try, make sure you consult with your physician first, because something that is healthy for me may not be healthy for you and your lifestyle and your health conditions. So I already walked this once today, just to see where I needed to get to in order to get a 1-mile trek out of this. And it took a little more than 20 minutes. I'm guessing with this 70 pounds on my back, it's going to take a little bit more than 20 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. But we're going to take a mosey around my property. In order to better understand and kind of understand the concept of what I'm doing with my YouTube videos, is on Wednesdays I go over a video that talks about my book that I wrote. And each Wednesday I go over a chapter, so nobody has to buy the book. Now, if you want to buy it, I'd greatly appreciate it. But nobody has to buy the book. They can still get the content from my YouTube channel. So, on Wednesdays I do my video on the chapters. And then on Fridays I post a video on foods that we eat. Some of those are videos on foods that we eat on a system day, when I'm working on either losing weight or maintaining my weight. And then we have videos on the website or on the YouTube channel for my cheat days. And, what I eat on a cheat day. And if you watch what I eat on a cheat day, you may wonder how a guy could lose weight. But this is a system that works for me. So in order to understand where I am now, you kind of have to understand where I'm coming from. I was originally born in Batavia, New York in 1971. Lived there for 5 years, moved to Springfield, Missouri, lived there for 5 years, moved to Lakeland, Florida, and that's really where I grew up. And growing up, I always had a problem with being too skinny, not too fat. And I got into construction, when I was in high school with my dad, and started working construction, hanging and finishing drywall. And And I met my wife when I was in high school there at Lake Gibson Senior High School, who I'm currently still married to here 33, almost 34 years later. And after getting married and having a child, finding out it kind of sucks having a child without insurance because the construction companies that we worked for didn't provide insurance, I decided to find a different career path. You know, my whole family has been construction workers, so that was my natural, place to go to earn a living and, live a life. But after having our oldest daughter, Christina, who's one of the editors in my book, because it's a self-published book, my daughter, Christina, and my wife both read it, made edits for me, and helped me out in getting this book created. But after having our first child without insurance, I decided I need to find a different career. So I've always been kind of a person that's been interested in firearms. So it seemed kind of natural to look at law enforcement. So I ended up, after going to the police academy and almost 4 years later getting hired by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, I spent 26 years as a police officer and retired as a patrol sergeant. I retired back in, I think it was 2022. And this is a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, oops, off my trail. One more down. Here we go. But anyway, while I was a police officer, I lost weight a few times. I went from being 185 pounds when I got hired to, I was probably about 230 when I made sergeant, patrol sergeant. And I ballooned all the way up to over 265 pounds. And the reason that I can say it was over 265 pounds is I really quit weighing myself at 265, and I know I gained some weight after that. And subsequently, I was working for Lieutenant Spates, Lieutenant Stephen Spates. He's a awesome man, awesome supervisor. And while I was working for him, I was able to use somewhat of the Body for Life system, or at least the diet side of it, and then got into doing a bunch of walking to knock out 80 pounds. Well, at the time, he thought that was pretty impressive and I should tell people about it. But me, I was just concerned about being a police sergeant and doing those kind of things, and it just really didn't resonate to me. And it really didn't resonate with me about telling people about losing weight until the second time I lost weight. So anyway, I lost 80 pounds while I was working for Lieutenant Spates. About half of it was strictly just about diet, and then the other half was walking a whole lot. And I used to walk a lot. I would go to the Riverwalk there in Jacksonville at night, and I'd walk. Now, initially when I started walking, it was killing me because I was carrying 32 pounds of gear, plus I was overweight. I don't think I started walking until I had lost probably about 35 or 40 pounds that time. But I started walking, and all of that worked, and I got down to 185 pounds, which I'd done one other time when I was a detective doing the Body for Life system. That's how I learned about the Body for Life system from a sergeant friend of mine named Kevin Hensley. And subsequently, got down to 185. The first time I did Body for Life, I probably was about 220. Worked my way down to 185 in 12 weeks. And then went back to, what I was doing before and not working out and not eating right. And then I got promoted to sergeant. And like I say, I think I was about 230 then. And that jacked me all the way up over 265. So I decided to lose weight, and I did. And I think it took me probably 5 or 6 months to lose the weight. I don't remember offhand anymore. But I lost the weight, like I say, working for Lieutenant Spates, and he really thought it was, something that other people should hear about. But like I say, I wasn't that interested, and really, you don't realize it or realize the big benefits until you sit down and think about it. And when I retired, I was probably about 220. I blew up to about 240. And then when I started my Deciding for Life system that I'm using now, which is based on Body for Life, and I talk about that in another video, so I'll leave it for that. But I decided for my life that I was going to lose weight again. So I started this system, which is a little bit different, and that I'll go into a little more detail in another video. But I lost 70 pounds without working out at all, and while still eating foods that I love. And a lot of people, I have family members and friends, and I see a lot of people around, and they don't really understand how you can do that. But really, it's a lot about what you put in your pie hole. Because when you get control over what you put in your pie hole, and when you put it in your pie hole, because I still eat things I love, I just mostly do that 1 day a week on my cheat day. But when you get control over those things, you can do amazing things. And the thing is, when I noticed it the first time when I lost 80 pounds, I had 2 big oak trees in my front yard in Jacksonville. And every year or two, I'd have to trim them back. And when I'd get really heavy, it would be really hard to trim them back. Another problem that I had was I had to dig some fence posts one time, and I was just so heavy, I think I was probably over 265 then, that I had to have my daughter dig them for me because I was just too out of shape. So after I lost the 80 pounds the first time, I was trimming our trees back, and I just couldn't believe how much better I felt and how much longer I could go, how much more stamina I had. And that worked good that time. I lost the weight, got back to doing what I shouldn't have been doing, eating too much and not moving around enough, and I gained it all back. Well, not all back. I only got up to about 240 and I was over 265, so there is that. I didn't gain it back plus some that time. So, like I say, this time here, I decided to lose weight, and I lost 70 pounds, and once again, I was trimming some trees on this property, and when we first moved in, there were trees on the property that I trimmed back because the place hadn't been maintained in a few years. So I trimmed them all back, and it was kicking my butt when I was heavy. And then after losing 40 or 50 pounds of that 70, I went out to trim my trees, and it was just so amazing to me again how much easier it was to trim my trees. And I trimmed them back, and I felt so good. I was working on doing a review because I have another YouTube channel that I review equipment and stuff that I use here on the property. And I was just so amazed. I was doing a review of a Ryobi pulse or a Ryobi pole pruner, and it really turned into how much better I feel being about 50 pounds lighter. And that video didn't do very good because I guess people aren't that interested in it, but they really would be if they could feel the difference that I feel. And that's really what the goal of this whole channel and my book is about. Anybody that knows me knows I hate being in front of a camera. I was a police officer, retired as a police sergeant after 26 years, and you'd probably be hard-pressed to find 6 or 7 pictures or videos of me over that whole 26 years when it comes to my business. There's family pictures, but when it comes to things that I do, I've worked really hard at not being in front of a camera. And for me to be in front of a camera, it takes me out of my comfort zone. But when I look at how much better I feel and how I'd like to inspire people to feel better like I do, to me, it's worth it. I have a small YouTube channel. I think right now I've got 8 subscribers after, I think this is 15 weeks. So that's not real great. But the reality is, if only one of those people is able to feel how awesome I feel, then it's worth it to me. Because this feeling is just so different. It's so impossible to describe to people, which is partly why I'm throwing this 70 pounds of lead on my back and going for a walk and talking to you about it while I'm doing it. And I know this is going to be a quite lengthy video, but the reality is, if you want, you can fast forward. I will have a short video out, a shorts video out with some highlights if you don't have time to watch the full video. And that's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings because you don't watch the video. My whole goal for it is that you get inspired to do something to change your life if you're 70 pounds overweight. Because when you lose that much weight, it's just so amazing what you can do. Simple things like bending over and tying your shoes. There was a time when I was a police officer that I had to make sure that I put my boots on before I put my belt and my gun belt on. Because if I put them on first, I couldn't bend over and tie my shoes. And if you're substantially overweight, you might know what I'm talking about. Some of the other things that were so much more difficult, before I lost weight, some things that you don't even think about. I used to get dizzy a lot of times when I'd stand up. And, I'd get like a rush of blood to my head. And, I'd get dizzy and about black out sometimes. Well, since I've lost 70 pounds, I don't have that phenomenon anymore. I feel so much better. Just going out, like I said, I'm a person that's really interested in firearms. And I grew up around a dad that reloaded ammunition and cast his own bullets, which is why I've got 70 pounds of lead in this backpack. But, one of the things that used to kill me and kept me from doing some of my, hobbies that I like shooting, was, we reload, so we want to pick up a brass. We don't want to leave it on the ground. And when you're 70 or 80 pounds overweight, trying to do that is a true chore. And to give you an example of how much of a chore it is, when I'd be substantially overweight, I'd have to kneel down and I would pick up as much brass as I could get in both hands before I'd stand back up. And if you're substantially overweight, that probably resonates with you if you've ever had to pick anything up off the ground, brass or no brass. So that's another thing that's changed substantially. It's just so amazing how much better I feel. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this is, I see my dad. He's 88 years old right now. He's 5'6", and he's probably 50 or 60 pounds overweight. And he can't hardly do anything on the property, which is another part of how I got to where I'm at here. And one of the reasons I started working on my diet again was once I agreed to let him move out here on our property from New York because the weather was too cold for him. I was putting in a pump house building to put our water softener in that in, and I had to dig 4 post holes for tie downs, and it was kicking my butt. And it reminded me of that time that I had to have my daughters dig 4 or 5 post holes to fix a fence. And it really made me feel horrible because, I know how much better I can do when I'm not so heavy because I've done it before. Until you've done it, you really can't, it's really hard to understand. It's even hard to understand after you've done it to explain it to somebody. And that's kind of what I'm hoping this lead walk will help me do. Because we've been a little more than halfway. I'm a little more than a half a mile. I'm at 0.65 miles right now. And this kind of reminds me of when I first started walking with Lieutenant Spates out at the Riverwalk. Because I couldn't keep up with him. He was kicking my butt. And I was so miserable we had to slow down. Kind of like I have to do with my dad a lot of times. And, this whole concept of throwing all this weight on, I don't recommend to anybody else. If you're healthy enough, it definitely does open your eyes to how much difference you feel when you're not carrying that much weight around. I mean, even if you went and, I was 70 pounds overweight, and even if you went and took half of that and 35 pounds and picked it up and thought about, I'm carrying that around all day, it would resonate with you a little differently. Because when you put it down, you feel so much better. And I know that because I've done this walk, but it was only, maybe 400 or 500 yards the last time. So this is a little bit different. I can still do it. So there is that to say about it. And I apologize for the poor video angles, but the sun is the sun, and it sits where it wants to. So, I don't even normally talk this much. So I'm having to think a little bit about what I want to talk about so that I can get the complete video done. But we're walking around on our property that I've spent the last 2 years cleaning up from being an overgrown pine forest to being something I can go take a walk on and see all these deer prints around and see all the animals. We've had bears out here. I've got some game camera videos of bears. I've got game cam videos of bobcats and coyotes. And we got all sorts of deer and turkey and all of those things, which is really why we moved out here, to get around, animals and be around less people. Because that's one thing about being a police officer, at least for me. I just don't enjoy being around people as much as I used to. And I never was greatly a people person. And it's one of the things that was different about me when I go to work. It was like flipping a switch. And I was a very different person. And having been retired for about 3 years now, this is just very different. But it's hard to get that cop out of the cop. And I don't think I'll ever truly get it out of me. And I don't know that I necessarily ever want to, but because it does add some caution, but that caution sometimes costs me relationships because I'm not going to do some of the things or be around some people that do things or act ways that I'm not going to put up with because I know where it can go. But anyway, one of the funny things about our diets as Americans, I was watching a video the other day, and I like watching historical videos, so I've seen a lot of videos of World War II veterans, when they were during war, and how small that they were compared to our people here today. I've seen videos of Japanese soldiers, and the other day I saw a video about how Japan's building up its forces again, and it was interesting to me because they looked a lot more like our modern Americans than the old videos that I used to see of soldiers during World War II. They probably were 60 or 70 pounds heavier, kind of like I was. And it's kind of interesting that even in other countries, even Asian countries, weight is a problem. But when you look at what we eat today, I can understand it. You look at how we've been taught to eat. I grew up with the food pyramid, which is horrible for you, horrible for your body, because you're eating so many carbs and not enough proteins or fats that consequently we have more people with obesity problems and more people with diabetes problems and more people with heart conditions. And that kind of gets me back to my dad a little bit. He's 88 years old, like I said, about 50 or 60 pounds overweight. And watching him move around, he has to stop all the time, and he can only go so far before he's out of breath. And yes, he's had blood clots from a surgery that he had a long time ago. But when I look at him and I see, and I know because I've lost this weight, and carrying this 70 pounds around really reminds me of how he feels when he's trying to walk around, it kind of makes me feel like stopping and catching my breath. But I want to get this video done for y'all, so maybe it'll inspire somebody to feel as awesome as I do, especially after I take this backpack off. So, I see my dad. He's got compromised heart, compromised lungs from blood clots, and a life of a construction worker. And he has such a hard time moving around. And I don't want to be that way if I'm lucky enough to live to 88 years old. And when I think about it, just like this backpack on my back right now, if I get to that age and I'm not carrying all that extra weight around, how much better will I be able to move around, and how much more will I be able to enjoy my life? And that's really what my videos and that are about, is trying to encourage other people to do the same thing. And I'm not saying you necessarily need to do Deciding for Life. If you think about doing anything from my books or my videos, make sure you talk to your doctor, because it may not be healthy for you. But Deciding for Life isn't the one all end all for losing weight. Body for Life worked good for me when I'd work out. So if you're the type of person that really enjoys working out, that might be the system for you. I'm not touting just my system because I wrote a book about it. I'm just talking about my system because it worked very well for me. So back to my dad. And I figure if I'm not 70 pounds heavier, if I'm 70 pounds lighter than I would be if I didn't lose this weight, then my heart doesn't have to supply blood. My lungs don't have to supply oxygen for all that extra weight and fat. And when you think about that, if your heart isn't working at, whatever's a natural capacity, because when I hear them talk about that at the doctor's office, it's a little confusing. But if your heart's only working at a certain percentage, how much better would it be for the rest of your body if that percentage didn't have to provide blood and oxygen for all that extra weight? And that's really, one of the things that resonated with me when I was digging these 4 post holes out here, is because, I see how he moves around and he doesn't enjoy his life so much. He's more comfortable sitting watching TV than getting out and being an active person like he used to be. And some of that, yes, is contributed to before my mom passed away. She had dementia. And, he was, forced to take care of her until he couldn't care for her anymore, and she had to go into a nursing home. And that was really hard on him. And I can understand him, being overweight. But he's also been overweight as long as I can remember. I don't think he's been under 200 pounds, and he's only 5'6", and as long as I can remember. So, you figure that math out, he should be between about 135 and 145 pounds for his height and age. And he's usually about 208, 210, something like that. That's a lot of extra fat and that your body, and even your muscles, because you have to have more muscle to carry all that weight around. So yes, I did lose some muscle tone, losing the weight the way I did. But here I am. Last June is when I hit my goal of 165. And I was 166.3 pounds, I think, this morning. So, I've been able to take it off, and I'm keeping it off. And I'm making some adjustments because I've been doing some different things, because I want to write another book and create more content for YouTube that hopefully will help other people have this awesome feeling that I have. And now we're at that says 0.99 miles now, but that can't exactly be right unless I walked a little different path. But we're going to walk all the way back to the shop just like we did when we walked out, because I want to make sure that it's not my GPS that's being goofy. So, yeah, I guess this is a little longer. That's about 26 minutes, and it only took me 20 minutes to walk it the first time without 70 pounds of lead in the backpack. Sorry about the sunshine there. I'll try to fix that. And like I said, I'll have a short of this if people don't want to watch the whole thing. But I hope it's at least enough to inspire somebody to feel how awesome it is not to carry all that extra weight that they've been carrying around, maybe for their whole lives, because it does make a big difference. Some people say, I can't lose weight for this or that. One of the TV shows that I like to watch, and I talk about in my book, is the TV show Alone. Well, they go out, there's 10 participants, and they go out in the woods where they don't have any processed food, where they have to get their own food. And it's kind of interesting. There's not a one of them that gets fatter while they're out there, because they're eating lean meats. They don't have a whole lot of carbs, and consequently they lose weight, which is one of the things that inspired me to do this process. Because, if those people can go out there, and for, the ones that don't stay, they're going days without food. The ones that do stay, and the ones that win, some of them go, weeks and if not months without a substantial source of food. So if they can do that, I can go a little hungry for a couple of hours. And that's kind of the part with this Deciding for Life system. Most of the time I'm a little bit hungry. I don't notice it when I'm busy like this. I notice it more when I'm sitting on my butt doing nothing. So it does help to kind of keep your mind and body occupied. But if they can go all those days without food, I certainly can go a couple hours. So we're almost back at the shop here. And I'll jump back on the scale and show you that hasn't changed. And then I'll talk for just a couple minutes and we'll get you out of here. Okay. Well, I made it more than a mile. It's funny, I used to walk 12 miles in 32 pounds of gear, and when I got used to it, I didn't even think about it. But haven't done that in many years. So, let me turn you around again, and we'll get back on the route. Sorry about that, I actually accidentally hit the wrong button. My hands aren't quite... Okay, now we're gonna... I gotta turn it on. Come on, wake up. I'd like to get this backpack off. Oh, you're kidding. Looks like the batteries just died. Oh, Lord. Well, it's just gonna be that. Can't do a whole lot about the batteries dying. Actually, I can walk in the house and take a video on my other scale. Oh, I gotta go get upstairs with 70 pounds on my back. Okay, let's turn. Okay, we'll walk in the house. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I hadn't used that scale in a while. I didn't realize the battery was dead in it. Then I gotta walk back down the stairs to go put this down. Okay. Yeah, that's a little entertaining with that on your back. I wasn't in the military, so I've never done that kind of backpacking. So, okay. Ugh, hands are shaky. Wonder why. Okay. All right. Let's go over here. Hopefully this one works with my shoes on, because it's a Garmin and I don't know if it'll work with my shoes on. Okay. Let's go here. Okay, let's see. I think it's 256.6789. It's kind of hard to sit still with all this weight on my back. Okay, it's registered. 256.6. Back out to the shop and get this light off my back. Next week I'll make sure there's batteries in the camera. Okay, let me go get this light off my back. Inspire somebody. Okay, I'm a little tired. That was a feat, and my feet are telling me about it. I might have a blister on my feet. That's one of the things I did before, is I beat myself up pretty good doing all that walking. Okay, so now I'm going to take this backpack off and put it on here and feel so much better. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Got to work on these camera angles. Okay, backpack is back on the workbench. That feels so much better. I feel awesome now. And it is a good reminder of how much better I feel when I'm not carrying that 70 pounds around. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Those things help the algorithm out, and all the comments that you can put help the algorithm out so more people can see the videos. And hopefully we can inspire more people, because that's my goal with this, is to create a community of people that are interested in inspiring and helping others. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't give medical advice, but hopefully I can inspire you to find a happier and healthier way and decide for your life to live a happier and healthier and lighter lifestyle. Now, down in the comments section, I'm going to have a link to my book, as well as a link to my Water Oak Workshop webpage, where I've got a membership that's available to people if they're interested. And what I'm going to do with that is, once I get people signing up, every month I'll have newsletters containing all the recipes from all the things I've cooked over the month. And, just summaries of the different things we talked about over the month. And, we'll go from there. And I'm not asking anybody to buy anything. You can if you want to. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about inspiring people to help themselves decide for themselves to live happier and healthier and truly lighter lifestyles. If you do want to help the channel out, there's those things that are there. My channel's not monetized, so I'm not getting paid anything from YouTube to do this video. If I ever do get monetized, that'll change. But even that, you got to get millions of views to make lots of money. So, I don't think a Healthy Lifestyles channel is going to do that. But if you like what you see, please like, subscribe. If you know somebody that may be inspired by this content, please share it with them. And I will have a short of this if this is too long. And I'll splice this together. And I guarantee you, there's no falsities going here, because anybody that truly knows me, if I tell you something, that's what it is. Thanks for watching, and may you have an awesome and healthier, and yes, lighter day. I forgot to show you my watch, so here's a screenshot of my Garmin app that shows the 1.11 miles that we walked. The 1.03 miles was my test walk. Thanks again, and may you have an awesome and healthier, and yes, lighter day.